Uberto. Thank you both so much for joining me here to talk with me about The Return. Hope you're both doing really well today.
Thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
talking to
Likewise,
us.
man.
We are doing well. Are you okay?
Yeah, you know what? We're in the thick of award season right now, but there are still plenty of new theatrical releases to also talk about. So, got to do what we got to do, you know. But in any event, this is interesting. This is something that we don't get to see far too often. It almost feels like not only is it this like great historical epic that's based on a book that many of us are so familiar with, obviously, but also too, it's staged almost like a play. I mean, it's opened up for sure, but I like how dialogue driven it is, how character driven it is. Charlie, can you tell me, from your perspective, getting material such as this that allows for you to really dig into the emotions of a character on this, thematic level, but also having this reference point that you can like turn to. Like, does that like just feel so enriching as an actor?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes, this was an embarrassment of riches all the way around from the original text to the man who brought that text to where it is for our story. And then, the cast and the entirety of the crew that really was the everyday of this experience. But I mean, I think selfishly for myself, given where my character sits in this whole story, specifically getting to absorb all of what Rafe and Juliette were doing with their work and just giving me as an actor as well as a character. I mean, that really was the most rich of any experience as an actor I've gotten to have with other actors in that sense. Just really feeling like, this was like the universe's way of putting me through school in the greatest way I could have ever dreamt up. And, I very much did not go to school. So if this is the closest I ever get, then I'm very, 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 very lucky. So yeah, an embarrassment of riches all the way
It
around.
almost to me almost kind of feels like if you were being asked to do Shakespeare back in high school or something, and to hear you like you say you have such like rich text that you're now acting opposite some of the greatest actors on the planet doing these big speeches, monologues, and not to mention too just with a kind of sense of like honor and truthfulness. That's like there's an honesty I think that comes through where everybody says what's on their minds, and I love that style of dialogue and acting. I wish we lived in a society that was more like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's such a credit
yeah.
to Uberto. I mean, that was completely the tone that he set from the beginning, of course, with the script, but in all of our rehearsals and meetings, that was something he was really clear and never wanting to compromise with. And I think he
Mhm.
really accomplished that.
Tell me this, Umberto. I was thinking about how there are people in this movie who come across Odysseus and they don't recognize him. The war has changed him, time has changed him, and it's almost hard to believe at first, but I'm sure you, Charlie, maybe you too, have had experiences where you come back home and your family or whoever looks at you and goes, "Man, that really aged you. That experience, that whole ordeal you just went through. Can you guys
Um,
think of a time where somebody like just didn't recognize you because of something you were going through?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah. For me, yeah, it was. I think after a few jobs I've had, whether that be physically, mentally, whatever it is, I think my family's definitely been like, "Hey, are we all good? We still all here and together?"
Yeah.
But yeah, without going into a full-blown therapy session, I think that's all I'll say.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you don't get recognized, not necessarily so much physically, but you don't get recognized for how you've changed
Hmm.
psychologically, where
Yeah.
you are in life. You moved away, you had different encounters. So you go back home. I live mostly in England, and when I go back to Italy, where I grew up at the beginning, I meet old friends and the communication is different and you do not get recognized for the way you look at the world, for the way you speak, for the way you think of yourself and of them. And
Hmm.
This is obviously one of the crises of our central character, Odysseus. Odysseus wants to go home, but is fearful about going home. What does
Yeah.
it mean to go home? Is he deserving of being home? Is he the guilt of not being there before, the guilt of not being there for his family, the guilt of leaving his friends behind on beaches, dead on the war fields, and you become unrecognizable because you have changed. Because we all change, and it's obviously some experiences change you more than others. And when I was writing the script, I read a lot of Vietnam vets interviews with veterans of the Vietnam War and their wives, and how difficult it was for these families, these Vietnam vets, to go back into society, be recognized as husbands again, or fathers to their children that they hadn't seen for 3 years, 6 years, whatever the number of tours in Vietnam they had done. And the difficulty of their wife to recognize them emotionally as individuals, not so much physically, although sometimes they obviously change physically. And this is really what the film is about, is a family coming home of individuals that have been changed by war, how war affects you. And those conversations of Vietnam vets really influenced the script, and therefore the conversation with the actors, and make the film or our reading, our approach, our arrogant and mad approach to Homer, so of today, because Homer speaks about that, and what you need to do is read Homer well, and you find him not an old man from 3,000 years ago, but a man who speaks to our humanity today directly, powerfully, honestly. He's wonderful. We should all go back to Homer.
That's I guess what makes a quality of work timeless right there. Speaks to the human condition. I didn't get a chance to ask Rafe and Juliette about this earlier, but the final scene of the film, because Charlie, you were obviously there for that final sequence. Can you guys just tell me a little bit about like the staging and the blocking? Because there's so many actors in the room, tables flipping over, people getting shot with bows and arrows and such. Can you guys just tell me what that was like? How many days did it take to shoot that, and what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, no, that was easily the longest sequence to shoot of the entire film. I think we took 2 weeks to shoot that, and we had a couple weekends of rehearsals before that, really breaking it in. And of course, I mean, when you have someone like Rafe, who is quite literally leading the charge in all ways, I think there's a level of attention to detail and respect and understanding with what we're doing that was always there through those 2 weeks, that I think had it maybe been another actor as Odysseus, maybe it would have been a lot more casual and people just relaxing into it. But I think given what he always brought to every single moment, he was just there, not even on camera, just in the space. I think that really set the tone in a magnificent way. But no, I mean, it was such a dream come true for me to get to do. And it honestly also came at the pretty much the end of the entire experience. So there was something as far as us really earning that and not needing to reach for anything that was really wonderful. And I credit Uberto for really blocking it in that way, so that we all got there together, and it really did feel like an honest arrival.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, we did schedule it. We did schedule it so that we would end the shoot as the story ended. We shot the end of the schedule to match that, and it felt important. So we started in Greece with the exteriors, and then we moved inside for the ending.
And then my final question before I go here: who's the best archer on set?
I mean, Rafe, obviously. I mean, yeah.
He's good.
I don't know. Yeah. Is there even another option? I don't know.
I mean, I during off hours, I don't know. Maybe you guys were doing it for fun,
Yeah, no, I wish, man.
I used to do it when I was 12.
Yeah.
I did a bit of archery when I was 12, but definitely he trained for that too.
Yeah.
He obviously trained his body, he trained his mind, but he trained as an archer too, and he was very, very serious about that too.
Yeah, no, it definitely shows up on the screen. Thank you both so much for your time here. Really, really appreciate it, and best of luck to both of you.
Thank you. All
Likewise,
the
man.
best to you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
one, man. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Take care.